All right. Make up your mind. There we go.
Hello, hello.
Oh,
It's a busy morning. You are program number 4. Yes, since this morning.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot.
you're warmed up now.
Yeah.
Wound up, Yes, there was a program on Zoom with Indonesians, and then there was 2 separate things happening at the center. There was the regular sung practice, which a good number of people turn up for that every Sunday morning, and I don't usually go. When I can, I go. I went, and then after that, there was a request for some oral reading transmission from some people from New York. So that was the third thing, the last one. And then I had to run. I said, okay, you guys, chit chat, I'm now off to my other Zoom. And so came back home. So yeah, this is program number 4 for this morning. And then right after this, there is a 3-year-old's birthday. They came from Boston, but they're from here originally. And so they came from Boston to do the birthday for the 3-year-old. And right after that is my godkids behind here, annual Chinese Moon Festival.
Great, man. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So little busy Sunday. Usually it's not as busy. Anyway, hello everyone. Hope you're all well.
Hi.
Melissa is all set up. Once bookshelves are up, then things are done.
Yeah. Getting settled in Tucson.
Good. Yeah. Betsy was camping. Next time, come camp here.
Yeah, it would be nice up there. I was in Mountain View. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was good.
Mhm.
Fall is a busy time though, isn't it? Yeah, it is for me. Busy time, fall is. Oh, Cassandra said to say hi to everybody. And she wanted me to ask Dr. Lye if you have still planning on Bhutan in February, if you had that worked out.
Yeah.
You're not sure. Okay.
No.
Oh.
It's, believe it or not, I sent out the notice about Bhutan to the main group of people practicing with me. Under 40 hours, all taken.
Oh gosh, well that surprised me. Okay, that's okay. I'll let her know.
It surprised me for sure because
Yeah.
I didn't expect, but really under 40 hours. And I have 30.
Do you have a waiting list?
I have 38 people now with 6 people on the waiting list.
Oh boy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can put people on waiting list.
Well, so I'll ask her if she wants to be on the wait list, and then I'll send you a message and give you her full name, and you can put her on there if she wants to be. I think she's got something else going on too. So what are the dates of it?
February 27th to March 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, 12 days, so to say, with 11 nights.
Okay.
I didn't even get a chance to announce to Urban Dharma. This is like a subset of Urban Dharma, people practicing in the Dukagyu. I just sent it to there, and then it just got filled very quickly. Yeah. And already a number of people are like, can you make a second one? Since you're already there, they're like, why don't you just stay there and then the second group can come?
Yeah.
I say no because I may be kind of jaded by then. It's not such a good experience, I think, for others. So yeah. Anyway, so I mean, it's possible to do another one at the end of the year instead of February, but depends on the waiting list. I guess I could say to the waiting list people, okay, you didn't make it this time. I mean, there will be one or two people who got a spot but may not work out for them, so it's realistic if you're on one or two on the waiting list to possibly
Yeah.
join the February, but by the time you're 6 or 7 or 8, it's a little less likely. But it's good to know that there is a list. Then I can at least think about, possibly. End of the year is another good time actually to go to Bhutan. After March, like, monsoon starts and then, but they say even with climate change, everything is kind of upside down now. There isn't like a clear period of rain and, but end of the year is actually a good time to go to Bhutan as well. So we'll see.
Okay, well, I'll pass that along to her.
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
So what's going on in Little Rock?
Mm.
So we're reading the meditation chapter
Ah,
and great. And we were looking at verses 92 to 103.
oh,
All
already.
this,
Ooh, I see.
apparently you talked about consequentialism when you talked about these chapters, these verses before.
Right.
And we've been talking among ourselves about what are the consequences of not, being concerned with other people in the right way,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. But whatever you want to tell us, I think it's the subject is the exchanging of self and other as a meditation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
in general, yeah.
So, yeah. So this chapter on what's translated as meditative concentration, yeah, is really the longest chapter in the entire text. Is 187 verses. The wisdom chapter is 167, 20 less. So nothing comes close, but the longest chapter is on this chapter called meditative concentration, which is samadhi. Increasingly, I like the translation of meditative stability rather than concentration.
Okay.
It's not so much, concentrate has connotation of narrowing. And if you're not careful, this sense of narrowing can turn into tightening. And then if you don't read this chapter right, you may feel that to tighten is actually the goal here, as you narrow. The narrow is not so much about narrowing when we say concentrate, right? Concentrate. It's not so much about narrowing,
Yeah.
but rather it's about not getting distracted. So think of it as more how wonderful, what a relief, what a treat to no longer be bombarded by noise. And in that way, the heart, the mind can become more steady, more stable, steadying the heart, stabilizing the mind. That's what samadhi is. Rather than turning your focus into a laser, pinpoint point. The thing is, there are descriptions of shamatha, calm abiding meditation, that are suggestive of a tightening. Unfortunately, without naming names, because it's not about pointing out this or that person's fault. It's just to say there is a very strong view, and some kind of big names in kind of in the Dharma marketplace of America that teaches calm abiding or shamatha or samadhi as they may not use these words, but then their techniques and their approach is very tight. Tightening, 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 tightening. Being seen as that was what the Buddha was teaching us to cultivate. But it's not that. It's becoming more and more stable. Your heart don't move so easily. Even the heart not moving easily, you're becoming more stable again, right? You can have a kind of stability where you are living under a very controlled environment and therefore you don't move. This is also not what we're talking about here. This is more about developing an attitude whereby specific meditative techniques can be recruited to enhance a more basic attitude that we are developing. Specific to this text in this chapter 8, called meditative concentration, meditative stability. The object, what you use to stabilize, to steady the heart, to stabilize the mind, to become focused on, it's not explicitly identified per se. But overall, what this chapter is doing is, it says, move your heart mind to bodhicitta. Let it stabilize on bodhicitta, the awakening mind.
Can you repeat that, please? You're dropping out a couple of times.
Our audio connection's really poor with you today for some reason.
Yeah.
Missing a lot of what you're saying.
For internet reasons,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
You were missing a lot for other reasons too.
So stabilizing the mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
you
said-
have to tell me what you heard.
So rather than developing a forced stillness, you're saying there are techniques for just natural stability.
Or rather, these techniques are to be used in such a way of understanding that the stability, the stabilization, the holding steady is not a narrowing of focus, but rather an attitude of not wanting, not needing to be dragged in all directions.
Did you get that?
Yeah, yeah. Instead of focusing narrowly,
Yeah.
it's an attitude of not being dragged in a lot of directions, that's all.
No.
Meditation is an attitude of not being distracted,
Right.
being stable, not so much an attitude of staying in one place without, any kind of motion, but it's an attitude of not being dragged around,
Yes.
right? Would you say?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you have that understanding or that attitude, then the specific techniques will actually give the right results. Otherwise, those techniques can lead to, again, a very tight, a very uncomfortable result,
Is there any use of that laser beam type of narrow focus that's some talk about in the Buddhist community?
And I'm sure you can find some use for it.
But it's not what Shantideva is talking about.
Yeah, it's not what Shantideva is talking about, So nowhere in here, in fact, right, does he even give any method or technique to develop that, right? Yeah, he's talking about attitude here. Changing attitude. Now, of course, this is not to say, Shantideva's words on samadhi is the last word on this topic. For sure, there are others taking a different approach who would talk about samadhi in these like mental absorptions and benefit of mental absorptions and all of that. Buddha did teach that, of course, but as to what these types of mental absorptions, how they become necessary or helpful in the work of clearing all obscurations, clearing all confusion, leading to freedom, leading to Buddhahood. Yes, I think different practice traditions have different emphasis. But for Shantideva here, it's about developing an attitude. So in a nutshell, this attitude has two aspects. One, look at the way that we are tied to, that we are enslaved by embodiment. He doesn't have a vendetta against the body. Some may read it like that, like, oh, this imagery here is like, body hate, Yes, if you're not careful, right, you may read it to justify your kind of complicated relationship with body, with embodiment. But that's not his goal, in case you feel like that's what he's doing. He is just shining very brightly the dynamics that are involved in how much of our sense of who we are, what I am, is tethered to this physical body. And then by extension, who others are and who others are in relation to me is also tethered to, controlled by physical body as the start point. Of course, if you lean in and look at it, it's also not about the physical. It's what arises from the superficialities of the physical body that then builds up a whole entire complicated, complex identity, story, and so on and so forth. So one thing he's trying to do is to draw us away from that, and sometimes using very strong words. And the other thing he's doing here is, therefore, if you pull your attention away from that, where should skillful attention go? It should go to bodhicitta, which is the second part of this chapter. And then some meditation method or technique, such as what we know as Tonglen, is given. The exchanging of plain words would be, put yourself in the other person's shoes and walk around a little bit. That is a way to cultivate compassion. And then even compassion for our enemies. Elsewhere, some of the masters have pointed out, it's very easy to have compassion for those who are, whom we, at least, we perceive to be less fortunate, less well off, less powerful, less able, less capable, less. And they say it's very easy to have compassion towards those. And in fact, some of these instructions even say, be careful that it is not based on some kind of self-grasping, like your compassion towards those who are less powerful than you, less wealthy than you, less well off than you, less whatever than you. Be careful that it is not coming from very subtle self-grasping. But the more important application of compassion is to be able to respond with compassion to those who we perceive to be causing harm to us, causing harm to things that we cherish, ideas that we cherish, principles that we cherish, all of that. That's the focus of the second part of this chapter. Beginning of this chapter, he points out, the kind of delicate nature of relationships that we find ourselves involved in. Stanza 12, jealous of superiors, they vie with equals, proud to those below, they strut when praised. Say something untoward, they seethe with rage. What good was ever had from childish folk? A beneficial word, and they resent it, turning me instead from what is good. And when I close my ears to what they say, their anger makes them fall to lower states. One moment friends, the next their bitter enemies. Even pleasant things arouse their discontent. Ordinary people, it is hard to please.
Yeah.
So here in the opening, right, chapters, he is trying to wean us off from seeking approval, seeking attention of others. I really feel like he's not saying, don't deal with these people. Although again, it can be read as, give up on these people and go into the mountains, right? And live like a hermit. There is a tradition of that. In fact, on some level, I'm building a place for that.
Yeah.
But overall, again, even that, right? Superficially, it may look like that, but it's all about attitude. So what here he's saying is not like you should have disgust towards, but can you see like how much of your life, right? When we are doing all these things, what we're looking for is actually we're looking for other people's validation. We're looking for other people's basically, oh, you're very good. But can you see, right, how unreliable that is? Right? It goes back to the main point. Happiness and suffering is fundamentally an inside job. Again and again, we need to come back to this point that the Buddha taught. But very often we forget, I'm not saying, like in the workplace, in the professional context, that you let slide, right? Things that we call healthy boundaries. And even in Dharma centers, but don't give more to that than is skillful. But here's the thing, once we get caught, we lose perspective and we forget that we're being caught. Then we forget the main point that the Buddha is making, that happiness and suffering, in the end, they are in your own hands. So it means, in a skillful way, learn not to need other people's validation. Learn not to need other people's approval. And in that way, don't get entangled in such a way that gives rise to dissatisfaction and suffering. There is another way to relate and to cherish and to be with others, which is the second part of this chapter. The first part of this chapter is showing us the absurdity of relating to others in the normal way. So I guess what I'm saying is don't misunderstand and think Shantideva is saying don't relate to others. No, he's not saying that. He's saying our habitual ways of relating to others have mostly just brought dissatisfaction and suffering for everyone involved. And there is another way, which is to relate to others with the principle of bodhicitta as the driving force and as the context. Something that I saw on, I don't know, Netflix or one of these serious things. There's a quote which on the surface, maybe it seems to be the opposite of what Shantideva is saying here, but actually, I think it's saying the same thing, or at least you can listen to this chord, and shine kind of Shantideva light on it and say, that's true. It's basically it was someone telling the other person in this scenario, in the scene, in this scenario, this other person is having a hard time with kind of basically a dysfunctional family, mother, brother, addicts of one kind or another. But anyway, the other person's quote is like, families are, bleeped up.
Yeah.
Families are bleeped up. And then he goes, and you know why? Because they are made up of people. So you can say, samsara is bleeped up. Yes. And you know why? Because it's made up of people. It's made out of people, everyone bumbling around, being blown around by our afflictive emotions. And when we see that, we don't become so demanding that people are always thinking of us. It's still very nice, right?
Yeah.
That people are thinking of us. No problem with that. But if you walk around being more sensitive than others about needing other people to think of you, it's really burdensome. So, in a way, Shantideva, at the first half of this, or the first part, not necessarily neatly divided into half, but one main point he's making here is our normal, quote unquote, normal ways of relating to others. It's mostly messed up. But don't need to be hard on yourself. And see that it's really messed up. And that we can't help it, even with our best intentions. Or seemingly, so hard to get it right. But then the moment we can see, but this is true for all of us, then some compassion can naturally enter the picture. Then from there, Shantideva says, and now this is how you build on this compassion. And that's the second part of this chapter, overall.
Thank you for that overview.
92 is in this area where, he's talking about pain as what we all don't want. Then he's using a particular way of reasoning, right? I mean, I'm not going to say, oh, his reasoning is the only way to reason, to think about something. But we don't need to accept on all of this as like, this is the only way to think. For this to work, we just need to ask, in thinking this way, what is the benefit that I can gain, from considering things in this way? Approach it like that, don't approach it, and as I've said many times, don't approach these as like capital T truths. Even though I personally believe that these teachings were formulated based on individuals like Shantideva, Shakyamuni, having seen the truth about everything. Both the essence level truth about everything and the appearance level truth about everything. And therefore, they have given these instructions, these practices. But for these instructions and teachings to have an effect, have a positive effect in us, we don't need to approach them as capital T truths, because then that quickly kind of can turn into an identity thing. Oh, I have the absolute truth, others don't have, and so on and so forth, Or another version of problems that arise from when we too quickly, too eagerly wants to say, oh, these are capital T truths, is that but then it doesn't match our experience. Then we may make the mistake of thinking, well, if I want to stay in the Buddhist club and come to this Buddhist place, I have to pretend, that I accept this. And then you kind of shove it aside. And again, not helpful. Rather, if we just see how these teachings, we can look at them and go, okay, if I start considering the issue at hand in this way, what take-home lesson is there for me that would make my interaction with myself, my interaction with others, more healthy, more useful, more beneficial than otherwise? But that's enough, 92 and 93 is this kind of thought experiment of something that is instinctive, right? Not wanting pain. But he's turning it around and around and around until you could say that he's like, turn it on its own head. Now suddenly you're like, oh, I'm doing a headstand now. Strive at first to cultivate this feeling of sameness of yourself and others. In joy and sorrow, all are equal. Thus, in the same way you are going to guard yourself, you should also be concerned to guard others. So then think of others not as so other, but that as parts of your body. The hand and other limbs are many and distinct, but all are one, the body to be kept and guarded. Likewise, different beings in their joys and sorrows are like me, all one in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. 92. This pain of mine does not afflict or cause discomfort to another's body. And yet this pain is hard for me to bear. Why? Because I claim it as my own.
Dr. Lye, we were having a discussion immediately before you came on about that paragraph and why we need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was we were actually hoping you would give us our perspective on why we need to do that.
Or not do, Say more, everybody, anybody. Thank you, Steve.
Well, I could tell you what we were talking about, but you
Yeah,
know,
sure.
we were hoping you'd tell us what you think about it.
I don't know. Yes.
Go ahead. Steve,
Yeah.
go ahead and tell him what we were talking about.
Okay. Is that what you want, Dr. Lye?
Yeah, sure. You know.
Okay. Well, we were discussing the possibility that to motivate our own um, awareness, enlightenment, um, it's important to get beyond ourselves. And actually, this ability to empathize, and even more than empathize, depending on how you interpret what Shanti Dev is saying, is important to our own development. So there really is a motivation to do this, not just helping others, but also as part of the whole, helping ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we didn't really say the pros and cons of that, but then when you came in, that's kind of where it was.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is essentially, I think Buddha always begins with like the individual that he's talking to, you know. Let's start with you. There are skillful ways of feeling, acting, speaking, and there are unskillful ways of feeling, acting, speaking. And if you know what they are, then, you know, most of us will say, oh, well, I want the skillful way of, you know, feeling, acting, and expressing myself, and I don't want the other way. In terms of that, the Buddha, I would say, always starts with, can you see how taking that course of action provides you with happiness and takes away suffering? So first you have to be sold on that. You have to gain conviction. And if you don't have the conviction yet, doesn't mean that it cannot be developed. It can. In fact, that's the whole point of practice, you know. But it's also not useful to then go, well, it's ideal to be like that. I would even say, you know, like even if you say, oh, and in order to become Buddha, I need to be like that. I would say, leave that alone. Because now we have kind of like a, we are now getting kind of in a situation of like, but what if I can have my cake and eat it too? But no, you can't have your cake and eat it too, because it's not cake. Can you see it's poo? And then, you know, whether your poo or other people's poo, you want to get rid of it. So be working on that, right? Seeing that it's a cause of suffering. First and foremost, for myself. So then that becomes a very powerful motivation. Only when that motivation is actually having the effect of having you being careful to not go collect more poo before you can then really, in a beneficial way, begin to be concerned about how other people end up collecting piles of poo and not even recognize that that's what's going on. And you want to be able to help them see that and become free from that. So first of all, this instruction is given to us, each of us, to think this pain of mine doesn't at all cause discomfort to another, to the other person. But why is it that is causing so much trouble to me? It's because of how strongly, right, I identify this pain and this body with the notion of me. Now, conversely, 93, and other beings' pain I do not feel, and yet, if I begin to start taking it on myself, then it says it's possible. It's all a matter of training yourself to identify with. There is the unskillful and unhealthy way of going around collecting everyone's suffering and claim it for your own. And that we are also very good at doing, you know. But what Shantideva is teaching here is not that kind of owning other people's suffering. Yeah, it's a different way of owning other people's suffering. But basically 92, 93, he's to me, you know, he's inviting us to participate in a thought experiment. Then see what happens, you know. Play that out in your heart, you know, and see what happens. Where he wants to lead us to is in 94, and therefore I'll dispel the pain of others, for whether pain is occurring in others or is occurring in me, it doesn't matter. Pain is pain. That's the goal. To have us operate more on the level of wherever pain is occurring, that pain, let's find ways to alleviate people from pain. And people include you.
It seems like we're able to do that fairly well with dramatizations, movies, this type of thing. But when we go one-on-one with real people, we have a real problem with it.
You're right, and that's why to cultivate bodhicitta, we also need to cultivate the dreamlike nature, the magician's illusory-like nature, and to update that imagery, the drama-like, movie-like nature. You hit it right on the head. Atisha, Gampopa, you know, they talk again and again about how relative bodhicitta is love and compassion, driving you to want to achieve Buddhahood for the benefit of others. But you can only do this well if you understand or you frame your way of doing this. You frame what you are doing, the framing, the context of what you're doing should be as much as possible with the understanding that this is like a movie, this is like a dream, this is like a magician's illusion. Then we'll become very good at it. You just said that, you know. So that's the other side of bodhicitta, the ultimate aspect of bodhicitta, the essence aspect of bodhicitta. The appearance aspect of bodhicitta is the bodhicitta that we are more familiar with. But I think this is based on not like paying attention to actually, well, bodhicitta has two sides, two aspects.
So, Dr. Lye, it's 12:30 for us and
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
go. I gotta go. I have my next thing.
do you think we'll see you again sometime soon?
Next Sunday is a possibility. I'm mostly at home now. It's just that the last few Sundays that I've been home, and everyone is grabbing me to do programs for them.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
but then, I'm basically here, in town, and then
okay,
until January. I mean, here and there I go away for a weekend. So, oh wait, no, next Sunday won't work. Sorry.
not next week, okay, but maybe the next,
Because I'm officiating a wedding that weekend in California.
okay.
Yeah, I said, no, it won't work. Sorry.
We'll stand by,
But the following Sunday,
okay,
yes, yes.
That would be wonderful.
yeah. We have a little system going where we read and summarize the talks you gave back originally
Uh-huh.
on this book. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
works well for us, so we can keep doing.
Yeah, good, good. Yes. Okay, so goodbye, everyone. Thank you. Good to see everyone.
Oh,
Thank you. Nice to see
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Locke.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And we can pray that his Wi-Fi is better, sweet.
It's perverse how it loves to drop out. Just at the
Yeah, that was,
the syntax or something.
yeah, it was.
And the point.